So with Formula One 2023 winter testing starting next week, I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to rank this year's 20 Formula One drivers and kind of see where I put them if you put them all in the same car. So I've ranked them from 1 to 20, and today I'll be doing part 1, so only drivers ranked from 11th to 20th. So just as a disclaimer, I've put the 3 rookies this year at the bottom of the list to start. If I do this video again in, say, summer break or end of the year, I think all 3 may have moved up quite a bit. So I'll start right away. So number 20th, I've got Logan Sargeant. So last year, he's obviously a rookie we're starting his first year with Williams this year. Last year so over a year and a half in Formula 2, he's done 31 races and has 2 wins and has 2 poles out of 14 events. I think Sargeant is probably the weakest driver on the grid right now, which is natural as a rookie. I think he also has the weakest resume of the 3. But that being said, I don't think he's a bad driver. I think I'm pretty excited to see what he can do this year. I think he'll probably be a pretty step up from Nicholas Latifi, which is really why Williams brought him in, because they think they see more potential in him, and I agree with them. I think he has the ability to be a solid midfield driver this year. 19th, I have Oscar Piastri, McLaren's new rookie. Now, Piastri, I think, is a fascinating one. Rookie Formula Renault Cup champion, rookie Formula 3 champion, rookie Formula 2 champion. His entire junior career really screams future superstar. You know, the only people who have won Formula 2 as rookies are George Russell and Charles Leclerc, and they're both 2 of the brightest young stars of the present day of Formula 1. And I think a lot of people are rightly really excited about Piastri, and I am too. Now, the reason I have him ranked below the 3rd rookie is for one simple reason: he hasn't raced in Formula 1 yet. We don't know what he can do. But, you know, his junior record really speaks volume, I think. In his 1 year in Formula 2 in 2021, 5 poles out of 8 races, 6 wins. And he won the championship by a landslide. I think if this year he can come in, be an improvement on Daniel Ricciardo last year, he can be, you know, even if he loses to Norris, I think as long as it's not by too much, I think it'll still be a solid season. 18th, I have Nick DeVries, our final rookie. Now, DeVries probably has a very unconventional path to Formula 1. F2 champion in his 3rd year, went to Formula E in his 2nd year in Formula E, wins the championship. I think he's probably the weakest champion in Formula E, but that being said, he still has a lot of experience in different categories, and he's not that young either, he's 28. So he's probably going to be very close to being the finished product of what we see out of Nick DeVries. That being said, the other unusual thing about him is that he already has 1 race under his belt. He's, of course, last year famously at the Italian Grand Prix, stepped in to Williams into Alex Albon's seat while Albon had suffered from appendicitis, and he famously scored points on his debut, 9th place at Monza, which in a Williams was quite an impressive feat. Now, I think that unfortunately for DeVries, I think Monza was probably Williams' best track last year, so I think it was really the perfect opportunity for him to show what he can do. And I think in a AlphaTauri, a completely different car, and with a teammate who's already embedded, I think he may be a bit further behind. But that's kind of where I have DeVries for now. So now we have finished the 3 rookies, and I'm now going to move into the established drivers. So 17th, I have Zhou Guanyu of Alfa Romeo. So 1 season so far for Zhou. Was an okay season. I think he was a bit unfortunate last year because at the start of the season, the Alfa Romeo was a very solid car. It was 4th, 5th, 6th fastest on many tracks in the first half of the season. and Bottas was, getting solid points finishes every single race. But as the season wore on, the car actually got worse. I think, unfortunately, as Zhou started to close that gap to Bottas in both qualifying and race trim, the car just wasn't able to get consistent points finishes. So the points head-to-head, I think, actually looked much worse than it was on paper. He also suffered from, terrible reliability issues in the early part of the season, which didn't help him. I think this year, though, is going to be a make-or-break year for Zhou. He really has to show that he's a good Formula One driver, and he really has to be much closer to Bottas, I think, if he wants to keep this seat for 2024. There's a young driver in the Sauber Academy, Théo Pourchaire, who would definitely love to have that seat. So I think it'll be really important. But for now, that's why I have Zhou 17th. 16th, I have Yuki Tsunoda. 2 seasons in Formula One and total of 44 points across 42 races. Now with Tsunoda, I think there was quite a lot of hype about him when he made his debut in 2021. I think rightfully so. It's very difficult to finish top 3 in your rookie season in Formula 2. That being said, I think Tsunoda's had a bit of a steep learning curve. He's quite young. He's still very crash prone. His qualifying and race pace, definitely, there was big gap to Gasly his first year. Those gaps closed quite substantially last year, but he still was quite far behind Gasly overall last year, especially since the car was much worse. So that's why for now I have Tsunoda 16th. And again, I think it's really a make or break year given how many junior drivers Red Bull has in Formula 2 next year. Number 15, Sir Lancelot, Lance Stroll. Obviously a very divisive character and driver on the grid. I think 15th is about right. I think he's established himself as a driver now, lower midfield driver, above both Tsunoda and Zhou, but below all the other drivers on this list. You kind of know what to expect at this point. Not great qualifying, solid race pace, not the best race awareness, maybe have a couple incidents where he doesn't use his mirrors. I think this year's going to be a real tough task, though. Fernando Alonso, despite being over 40 years old, is probably going to be the most informed, best driver as a teammate that Stroll's ever had. And I'm saying that with all due respect to both Vettel and Perez. So I'm expecting quite a tough year from him. 14th, I have Alex Albon at Williams. I think 2019 and 2020, I think after that, many people were not really sure what to think of Albon. He was in his half season with Kvyat pretty close, and then a season and a half of getting absolutely demolished by the talent that is Max Verstappen. And I think that he really saved his F1 career last year with how well he did at Williams, how well he came into the team, took the team by the scruff of its neck, and really basically kicked Latifi out of F1 by doing so much better than he did, than Latifi. I think Albon still has quite a bit of room to grow. He's going to be quite close to the average for age now. He's around 25, 26, I think, this year. And I think he really just needs to keep improving, and maybe in a couple years he may be able to get a promotion to a team higher up the grid. Not a front-running team, but maybe a team like a McLaren or a Alpine or an Aston Martin. So 13th is the Great Dane, Kevin Magnussen. Got his first pole position last year. Had a very good, very solid comeback year in F1. We know he's been here a long time. Very good midfield driver, good qualifying, good race pace. And I think was quite a bit better than Mick Schumacher last year. Race pace was close, but qualifying was much better. And I was quite impressed with his qualifying and just his season as a whole. The one reason I think that I have Magnussen this low is that he does have this penchant, this tendency to just get into these poor accidents and racing incidents at the start of races. Happened multiple times with Lewis Hamilton last year. I think it's something that if he wants to ever kind of progress up this list, maybe get into the top 10, he really needs to iron out some of those really risky moves. Number 12, returning driver, Nico Hülkenberg. Now, despite the fact that Hülkenberg has not been in F1 for almost 3 seasons now, 3 full seasons, he's had quite a number of opportunities as a substitute driver, and he's looked very comfortable. It looks like he fits in each of those times. When he came in with Racing Point 2020 in Silverstone, second race, got third on the grid. And in the Eiffel Grand Prix in 2020, went from back of the field to points. He's shown he can get into a car and look extremely comfortable, even with very limited testing. I think the talent is still really there. And while he may be a little bit rusty at the start of this year, I expect him to be a little bit better than Magnussen, which is why I have him 12th on this list. Of course, he's getting a little older, so you'd expect a little bit of decline, but still an incredibly solid midfield driver. Remember, in 2018, he was considered the best driver in the midfield. 11th, last driver for this video, is Pierre Gasly. Now, with Gasly, I think he's very close on my list with his current teammate for this year, which may give you a hint as who I have next at the bottom of the top 10 list. But for Gasly, I think there are some real concerns, maybe possibly, about his ability to adapt to new cars. In the Toro Rosso and AlphaTauri, he's looked like a star driver. Looks like he could maybe be a driver who could drive for a front-running team. However, I think it's a bit easy now to forget his stint at Red Bull, which was so disastrous. He barely looked like an F1 driver, was regularly, on multiple occasions, got lapped by his teammate in an equal car. And it was so poor that he got kicked out mid-season from Red Bull and was sent back to Toro Rosso. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how he adapts to Alpine this year and how he adapts to being in a new car. So that is the bottom of my driver rankings list for 2023, for the start of 2023. Soon I will do part 2 of this video where I'll rank the top 10 drivers. But for now, these are the 10 worst drivers in my opinion, the bottom 10 drivers for F1 2020. And with winter testing coming up next week, I thought it was a really good opportunity to talk about and discuss how I rank each driver on this year's grid. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.